Hello and welcome to my favorite hero, Charlga, and the build I'm using for Dire Maul. I'm at a 3-level disadvantage, and I use Charlga, and I have a very meme build. I use this Spirit Passage talent, which makes it so any mini you deploy for 5 gold has stealth and +1 level. And I like to pair it with this Goblin Sapper combo, which allows you to take towers, and you're going to need this talent, the Rocket Turbo Boots, because it allows them to get to the tower faster. Now with the permanent stealth, you actually don't necessarily need it as much, but it is nice to have it so you can get there faster. Cool War talent doesn't really matter that much. Prowler, I like to take on the prowl to stun threats off my base so I don't take too much base damage. I also like it to counter the Ogre Mages and the Huntresses. I use Whelp Eggs with Flame Burst to neutralize big threats. It's very important in this. I use Shadow Meld on my Huntress to neutralize big threats and do a lot of damage. And I use Picklock on the Defiance Bandits to secure a gold advantage and come out ahead. And then you'll notice that my average cost is 2.6. Most of my minis are 3 or less cost, and I think that's very important for clearing this dungeon. Now starting off here, we have Howling Warband as our relic. It gives Bloodlust to any minis nearby when one dies, and the other 2 relics were healing, which I don't think is very important when all your minis are very squishy like mine are. So starting off here, I know I had to neutralize the push on the left, which I do with the Whelp Eggs, and then I'm going to try and take this chest before the enemy minis get in range. I should drop my Quill Bore in the back left here, but I decided to go ahead and take this tower very quickly, which is going to allow me to secure my foothill. And now it's too late to take that back chest because the Ogre Mages are going to spawn. Now we want to kind of slow roll here, and we're looking to specifically counter what they're playing and play things exactly as they are needed. This is how you win with Charlga. You don't win by cheating out minis for less than their cost. You win by using minis in advantageous ways when they are needed. So you only spawn things when they are needed, and you try and bank as much gold as you can so that you can answer things. And this is really important in PvE, but also in PvP. But we're going to take advantage of this to win in this particular scenario. You'll notice the mage on the left has no health. I'm just going to let my barracks finish it off. I'm going to use my Defiance to get 4 extra gold from that chest. And I'm going to use my Stealth Sappers to take that tower basically for free. And now you see I'm just kind of reinforcing, and we're slowly pushing forward. I'm letting my gold build up because it's very important to just stockpile that gold so you can make the best trades possible. Wait for your opponent to make the play. Don't overcap on your gold, obviously. Spend it so you're not overcapped, you're not leaking the gold. And use the proper counter to push back the opponent. So I have kind of a bad play here, but it's okay because the Bloodlust allows me to take advantage of the Sappers to do a little bit of damage to the tower. I'm kind of in a bad position here overall because there's just so many minis forward, but it ends up working out in my favor just because the enemy minis are all in Bloodlust range, and so when they hit 70% health or less, they start attacking each other, which allows me to clean this up and recover my position. It wouldn't have been so bad even if they had pushed forward, but it ended up working out in our favor. I try and take this chest on the left here, but it's kind of hard to get Defiance value on this chest. You'll notice that I'm kind of favoring using the lower cost minis, and I like to use these Whelp Eggs to clearly answer these big pushes that the boss will do. You're almost always correct to use Whelp Eggs. Like if he spawns 2 Ogre Mages here, or if he spawns like Grunts, Ghoul plus Defiance right next to him, you want to generally use your Whelp Eggs right on top of them so that they all get hit by the explosions from the Whelp Eggs, and then they end up killing each other. And then the boss will help too, and the boss will take some residual damage. And this is how you secure a gold advantage on this map. So now that we have a very strong foothold here, we're going to just slowly snowball our victory because we'll be taking more and more gold on the map, and it'll be a pretty easy closeout from here. So yeah, that's how you win the first round, is you just slowly build up that gold advantage. You don't spend all your gold at once on Charlga, and then you use the proper counters to come out ahead. So now I don't really have good relics here as well. I'll take Flashbang because it adds 1 stun second. Having heal on Charlga is pretty much useless, and the other one was also pretty unnoteworthy as well. So this is notoriously the hardest stage in the dungeon. You'll notice that I make a massive misplay here, and I send my Sappers forward. I meant to send them towards the right tower, but even so, we're able to comfortably take this stage. Surprisingly, I normally struggle on this stage, but we end up getting a pretty good rotation on this right tower. The boss doesn't go to reinforce it because they spent all of their gold on the left here, and we end up securing the right tower. So that worked out in our favor. I think it's because they saw the Sappers and they tried to answer them, but they were stealth. But we try and peel this Huntress off our base with the Defias Bandit, and we try and hold these spiders off our base with the whelp eggs. So our health is pretty low on our base already, which is not a good position to be in, since we wasted all that gold on the sappers in the beginning and they did nothing other than diverting attention away from the right tower. But this is really important. Even though we spent so much gold on those sappers, if you are constantly spawning the cheaper units in your deck, the kobolds, the Defias, the whelp eggs, the prowlers, the Defias bandits, I think I said that twice, you are basically banking gold for the future. And how this works is, after your 8th mini played, I believe, you start rotating the units that you played in order. And what this means is the cheaper units that you play, you're banking the cheaper costs in the future so that you can make better, more expensive plays, more flexible plays in the future. So we like to use these cheaper units. That's why our deck is very cheap overall, to be able to make more flexible plays in the future. And this gives us a lot of flexibility to answer the boss. So even though we're making a lot of misplays here, it's still giving us enough flexibility to come back and make counterplays that are relevant. So on the right here, we want to try and protect this tower and protect our forward position as best as possible. We ended up having to spawn a kobold next to the tower, I believe, and there's a neat little trick that I just realized you can do here. And basically it involves this arrow here. If you turn it, the later you turn it as your kobold is marching away from your base, the more likely the kobold is to march on the inside next to that fallen pillar and thus take the second mine. So you could theoretically take both the right-hand mines with one kobold. This is something I haven't really taken advantage of, but I plan to do so in the future. So you'll notice here that I got really lucky and my whelp eggs exploding next to the tower retook it. Sometimes it doesn't work in your favor and the eyeballs end up retaking the tower, so you have to kill it again. But we're in a pretty good position here and we are able to reinforce because of that. And I thought that I could spawn my kobold next to my base and do what I was saying. That's how I realized that if I spin that arrow a little bit later, I'll be able to basically take the inner gold mine as well. It doesn't end up mattering here because the enemy spawns a kobold and I'm not able to defend it in time. But I was starting to put the pieces together and realize, oh, you can do this to get a little bit extra value out of one kobold and get better cycles on the gold. So I am trying to do a little bit of damage to the boss here by spawning whelp eggs on it and using the quill boar to tank. And because we're running out of time on this map, this is something I'm having to do. I have to spawn my Charlga here because I have bad units in my shop and nothing really answers the spiderlings. I spawned the Huntress a little bit too close there and you'll see he's done me a pretty big disservice with this big push on the left. So I'm using my Defias to peel off with their stun, then I'm using my Prowler to peel off the stun. I've staggered the spawns out a little bit so that I'm not going to take as much damage to my base, and I'm using the Huntress away from my base so that she can tank this Ogre Mage. Just trying to use my whelp eggs as much as possible to do as much damage to the boss because I'm kind of in a Hail Mary situation. I let the right tower go, and we use my Defias Bandits again. You know, I'm playing all these cheap minis, so my costs are relatively low. And I'm using the Prowler. I get kind of unlucky with what it charges, but the eyeballs exploding kill the Prowler off my base. I have to use my quill boar to protect my base here because if anything reaches it, I'm dead. And I barely clutch it out. So that was a very nice stage 2, even though it was kind of hectic. Steady Shot, not that good. Bloodshot Greaves, not that good. I like Glazed Cannon, especially because all my minis are very squishy and I've got the whelp eggs. So doing double damage is going to be really nice on this final stage. We get a really good final relic for this clear. You'll notice that I'm going to have to use a lot of minis to clear this push. I use the Sappers because we get the +1 level and they have stealth. I think one of them gets sniped because I have Glazed Cannon, unfortunately. That wouldn't normally happen, but it does double damage, so it ends up bouncing out anyway. And we've done a lot of damage to that tower. If we're smart, we'll take it. I don't recall if I take it or not, but I use my quill boar here to flip the boss around and absorb the slow effect that she does, and then I use my Huntress to finish her off. I was hoping the stun would last long enough to take the boss, but it does not. And I realize I'm going to end up probably losing this right-hand boss again. It's okay. I'm going to use my Sappers. I know it doesn't matter if they have stealth or not because it's already at half health. And I know that the Sappers doing double damage nearly does 90% of the tower's health. So I'm pretty confident I'm going to take it. I decide to focus my efforts on taking this left boss. And this is a really cool setup here. Watch this. I stun the boss and then he hits my stuff. And I stun him again with the Defias. I time that just perfectly. And then we're going to move forward and take the left here. I'm going to send my kobold on the left to secure all the gold. And I'm going to try and do some splash damage to this Ogre Mage on the back with my Huntress. I'm not fast enough with my crowbar. I should have stunned, but I realized that my push was not going to have enough gold, so I ended up aborting it so I can save up for my next push. I'm pretty confident I'm going to lose this boss on the left as well, so I'm kind of just stockpiling gold as much as I can, and I'm preparing to take the left boss back as I am invariably going to lose him. I'm kind of wondering if I should take this Ogre Mage and go all in on him, so I decided to do so. I have the Glazed Cannon, so my Welt Bags are going to do a lot of damage to this Ogre Mage. I'm trying to splash him as much as I can with my Huntress. It doesn't work out too great, and I notice that he is starting to get into a position where the blue mage is going to heal himself, so I have to make sure that this does not happen by doing as much damage as I can and stunning him as much as I can, and I just barely managed to kill that blue mage. And now I'm in a really bad position here because I have no gold and I have both the side bosses marching on my base. If you've ever been in this position, you know how terrifying it is, because if they get too close, it's very hard to peel them off. Fortunately, we have a lot of stuns in our deck, so we can kind of reset their aggro as needed. I'm more afraid of the left boss because I've had more trouble getting him off my base in the past than the right boss for whatever reason. So I decided to take the left boss first, and we have a decent push going on the right. Now we have to try and deal with this left boss, or this right boss, excuse me. And I'm not like super worried about her because I feel like she does a little bit less damage and she's a little bit easier to peel once you have her attention. I think I could have placed these a little bit better. I ended up losing the Welt Bags pretty much for free there. I think if I had been a little bit better about the placement, I could have double dipped and kept my whelps alive. I'm not entirely sure how I would have done it though. I get a really nice walk freeze animation here where the boss can't advance on my hunter, and I'm able to set up on the right here as a result. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to take that boss on the left, so I'm kind of deciding here, am I going to just do an all-in on the right here and try and win? I think I'm going to have to hold the left though. The boss is already at half health, which is really nice for us. I'm not entirely sure how he took that much extra damage. I think it was from the Huntress splashing him as he was stuck in that animation loop. And now I'm going to try and do what I said before. I splash with the Welt Bags, I stun, I reset the aggro. He was going to turn and hit my Prowler if I didn't kill, but all that bonus damage and the stuns allow me to control which way the boss is facing. So you can always take advantage of that with your Prowler. That's why I like to take the stun talent on him. So it allows you to reset the boss's aggro. Every time they're stunned, they reset, they reacquire the target, whatever is closest, and I use that to my advantage. And now I'm in a great spot. Basically, the boss is not spawning anything against me, and I can just swarm him with enemies, and we're going to take the win. So that was a very fun run. This is one of my favorite decks to run simply because of all the neat little tricks you can do, especially with the stealth and the stuns. And yeah, let us know how Charlga is doing for you down below, and I will catch you on the flip side. Thank you all for watching. Take it easy. Peace.